afternoon, good evening, good morning. Uh, I've lost all sense of time. We are here today to talk about math games. I'm Amanda and I work at Blue Highway Games. And we have open hours. People can come in the store, they can shop. We also do curbside pickup and you can do delivery if you order online. We do have less staff working, we're running no events, and I'm doing most of my work from home. And I miss being in the store. I miss being able to talk to people. I miss answering questions. And we're getting a lot of them online, and we can answer some of them. But we decided to do this Friday features to sort of show off some of our games that we have each week and do different little categories. Last week we did new arrivals, and that video is still up on YouTube, and they are now a week even older, but there's still some good games there for you to check out. Today we're going to be talking about math games. I know a lot of you are at home and working from there, as well as possibly educating children from there and trying to supplement maybe their online education, and you might be tired of flashcards and workbooks and textbooks, and so these games are ways to reinforce some of the techniques they've been learning and do so in a fun way. Some of these games are just games that I would play with my friends. Some are a little bit younger skewing, but wherever you land and whatever your needs are, hopefully there's something here for you today. So the first one that I want to show you is actually going to be the biggest one. I'm going to kind of run through here, and this is a game called Secret Code 13 plus 4. And this is a game from Haba Games. I guess we covered up their logo there. Haba, and if you are not familiar with Haba Games, they make some fantastic family games starting at ages like 2 and up, or even younger, and they are very interesting. They generally don't just have roll and move, but they have something for you to think about. Now this one specifically goes after math principles. So the object of the game is you are art thieves. You're here to break into this museum, and so each player is going to want to try to work their way around the spiral all the way to get to the center, and the first person who can crack the code to steal the mask is the biggest thief and wins the game. And I'll just run through a couple rounds here and some quick basic principles of play. This is kind of the most flexible of all the games I'm showing you, as well as the most directly using math in the actual play of the game. So there are these little numbers around the board, and they are double-sided tiles that you shuffle up and place differently every time that you play. So I've already set it up. And all the players choose their piece, and they're waiting here at the entrance of the museum. And on your turn, you're going to take all 6 die, and you're going to give them a big roll. And then you're going to use these numbers to try to break through those codes. And this is where it's really neat and flexible, is you can just do number matching, addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division to try to break the codes. But you want to use as few die as possible. So for this first one, I have an 8. So I look on my dice that I have just rolled, and I have in fact rolled an 8, so I would remove that. I'd be able to move my piece past that code. I have broken that code, and now I am facing the 7 code, so I have to crack a 7. So I take my die, I'm going to roll them up again, and now I don't have a 7 that just popped out, so I'm going to have to try to figure out another way to get to 7. And if I did 5 plus 5, that equals 10 minus 3, I would have 7. So I'd be able to take those out, and I would be able to pass this code. Now I come to the fork in the road. I have 19 and 1. Chances of me getting a 19 on one of these 6-sided die, very low, aka impossible. But I got really lucky, and I rolled a 1, so I get to go past this 1 here and remove that die, and I get to keep going. You get to keep going until you reach a code that you cannot break, or such as right now, or you run out of die, which I would have done on my next round. Once that's it goes all the die to the next player, and they start out from the beginning of the museum, and they're going to work their way around the spiral. And it's a bit of a race. You're just trying to be the first one to that center to break that 20 code, which does require having a decent number of die left after you round past that 7. And there are more advanced play to the game where you can, as you go past, be flipping and changing the codes to their other sides. So people, I don't know why it really makes it that much harder, but I think you can use the same roll to go past multiples, so you can plan ahead and maybe choose paths that would have better die for you. But it just adds some little variable movement for you as you move your way around. And the theme of being art thieves is kind of a unique one and a lot of fun with this game. So that, once again, was secret code 13 plus 4. And it lets you use multiplication, division, subtraction, addition, whatever your child or you is capable of in order to move your way around the board in race fashion. So the next one I have is going to be skewing a little bit younger, but not super young, because it's going to be dealing with the early principles of division, and this is called Pet Me. Division is now as easy as a walk in the park. But Pet Me has a board that I will show you here very shortly. The anticipation is killing you, I know. Oh, you're so excited. And I will show you the back of the board. Alright, here's the park with all the pets. And if I zoom in there, you can see that there are little spots on the board that are in front of different pairings and groups of pets, like 1 dog, or 4 cats, or, ooh, what is that? That's 6 dogs down there. And everybody's going to start the game at the top of the board with their pawn. And then they're going to roll a die, and they're going to move down the paths, and when they come to forks, they can choose where they want to go. And when they reach a certain point and they stop, they look to see which animal is there. And if it's a dog, you're going to want to go to the bone pile of cards. If it's cat, you're going to want to get a saucer of milk. And if it's a bird, you're going to want to get a chili pepper, because parrots like chilies. And I must be a parrot, because I like chilies. So when you get there, you choose from this pile, and then it's going to have a number on the other side. From that number, so for cats, let's say you land somewhere with cats, you have 8 milk bowls. You're going to open up the treasure chest of food, and you're going to pull out 8. So first a little bit of counting. I'm going to pull out 8 of these foods. Once you have 8 of the foods, then you're going to go to your board, and you're going to find cats where your piece is. So here we've got 4 cats. And now you're going to want to divide those 8 foods among those 4 cats. And if your child just wants to come up with that number, so how many does each of the cats get, they can just say that and put it on the board. Or if you want to work through the principles a little bit more, you can actually take all the 8 pieces that you've pulled out, and you can start to divide them up evenly among all of the food bowls that belong to those cats. Once the player has fed all those cats and done the division correctly, they get to claim that space for their color, and then it's the next player's turn. Go around until all the pets have been fed. I think we say adopted. Once you feed them, they're going to come home with you. So once all the pets have been fed, and whoever has the most pets wins. So if you fed 5 parrots, 4 dogs, and 2 cats, you would add 5 plus 4 plus 2 for 11. So it's by individual pet, not individual location, because sometimes it's easier to do the division than it is on some of the other spaces. So that's a game that deals with little early principles of division, but it's also about feeding cats, parrots, and dogs in a cute little park setting, so I'm a big fan of that one. Alright, so now you're going to wait in anticipation of the next game as I clean this up, so I have room on my table. I have a bit of better setup this week. I'm not quite as in the dark as I was last week, although I do have every light in my house on, and that means I'm also very, very warm. So even though there's no fires to keep the heat in today, I am still very toasty. Alright, moving on, we are now going to talk about one of my favorite games of all time, No Thanks. Now this is the version that is out now. It's not the one I have on my shelf. I actually have something called Slide 5, which is, no, that's not the right one. Just kidding. I have another version. It's orange and it's small for No Thanks. But this is what's out right now. It's still pretty compact, but it's just a deck of cards and some tokens. The cards go from numbers 3 to 33 one time. So it's just a kind of a small little deck of cards. And to start the game, you're going to take the whole deck, shuffle it up, remove 9. So 9 numbers between 3 and 35 will be missing from the deck each time that you play. And then you're going to set the deck that is remaining into the center of the table, and then you're going to hand every player 11 of these tokens. This game for math principles is going to be talking a little bit about probability, some number sequencing, and also subtraction. So with this, you do not want points. So every one of these tokens that you are able to hold on to and keep or earn back in the game, at the end will subtract from the total that you're counting with the rest of your cards. Now, because there was 9 cards removed, you're having to look through and try to see what is the probability that the cards that you need are all going to be in the game. Now, what do you need? You need to not take cards, but how do you do that? One card will be turned face up on the table, and whoever starts is going to either take the card or put one chip on the card. When they put the chip on the card, they no longer own that chip. It just is a center pool. Everybody's chips look the same. And then it goes on to the next player. And you kind of keep going round and round the table until somebody caves and gives in. And they're like, well, I don't have any chips left. Or maybe they're like, I need this number. Now, why do you need this number? I'll get back to that. But you would then decide to take this card as well as all of the chips that are on it and put those back in your hand. So those are going to be good for you to be able to say no thanks to other cards you don't need, as well as serving as negative points, which you want at the end of the game. Once you have a card in front of you, another card is flipped over, and you continue the gameplay trying to go through that card. Now, let's say I already took this 25 and this 26 comes up later. I think, ooh, 26, that's a lot of points. Somebody's not going to want to take that. Now, I, however, do want to take that maybe eventually once I've let a bunch of chips compile on that, because here's the number sequencing. If at the end of the round I have numbers that are next to each other numerically, so 25 then 26, I would get to only count the lowest of that number sequence. So I would only actually have to count that 25. This 26 is no negative points to me. It's only negative points to other people. So if I manage to make other people put chips on it saying no thanks, no thanks, no thanks, and then I end up with it, I haven't lost anything. In fact, I've just gained a bunch of the chips that will allow me to reject other cards or subtract from my score. So having 25, 26 is great. So then maybe later I see this 28 and I end up taking it because I don't want to get rid of any more chips. Now I'm really hoping that I will get a 27, but I don't know because 9 of the cards have been removed at the start of the game. But I might take it hoping and gambling on there being a 27 that can go then, so it's 25, 26, 27, 28. I still only count 25 points. The 26, the 27, and the 28 would not count for me. But let's say the round ends and this is what I get. Or I was pushing my luck and someone else took the 27 because they really wanted me to not be able to score those, or to have to score those points. I would then have 25 plus 28 for 53 points, and maybe I had 3 chips left over, so a total of 50. So you're adding up the bottom of each sequence from all the cards you end up taking. So if you have a 10 plus the 25 plus the 28, you add all those up. You don't count that 26, and then you subtract whatever you have left in chips. And so that is no thanks. It's called no thanks because when a card comes up, you're like, no thanks, and you put your chip on it, and very polite. Sequences can be rather large. Like I could have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and the only card I would have to count for points is the 9. So that is no thanks. It's not one I play for learning math necessarily, but it's got some principles in there that you can utilize, as well as it just being a really stinking fun game to play with your friends. Alright, the next one I have is called Illusion, and this is also one that I like to play just with my friends. It's a very visual game. Now, I shall say this is not a game if any of your friends or children are colorblind. And if you don't know, you will find out very soon if your child is colorblind, because it all, you need to be able to see the red, the green, the blue, and the yellow quite well in order to play this game. So the way this works is there are 12 rounds and there are 12 arrow cards. You shuffle that up. At the start of each round, you turn over an arrow card, and this is a red arrow. So we're going to place this on the table face up, and then we turn over our first card, and it's going to be the first card in the sequence automatically, and then the next player turns over a card and then has to make a decision. show you the back. Why don't I show you the front? Does this card have a higher percentage of red on it than the first card, or is there a lower percentage of red on that card? So it's estimation as well as understanding the, mostly estimation, understanding the, how much percentage surface area, so little geometry there. They're a little bit of optical illusions, that kind of thing sometimes. You do not count the gray area, but all that white area, everything would be towards how much is covered on that individual card. So I would say this has a higher percentage of red than my first card, so it would sit here in the line. Now it goes on to the next player, and they have to make a decision. Did I do that correctly, or did I get it wrong? If they think that the line is now incorrect, something has happened, maybe not me, or maybe one before me, but I didn't catch it, they would say, I think it's incorrect. Or they'd say, no, I think that's correct. If they say that, then they turn over the next card, and they have to decide, is it going to be a lower percentage, maybe in between, or a higher percentage of red visible on this card? So what do y'all think? I think it's probably in the middle here. So, and then it goes on to the next person. But maybe they say, okay, no, you are wrong. That had more red on it. It's an optical illusion. So at that point, then all the cards are flipped over and kept in the same sequence that they were just in, and we'll see if we were in fact correct. Well, it went to 4, then 9%, then 31%. So we know that we in fact were correct, in which case the person said it was wrong incorrectly. So the last player to play correctly would get the arrow card. Or if it had in fact been correct and I'd placed it like this, and then it went 9, 31 to 4, that is not the correct, it's not an increasing percentage, then they would get the arrow card. So once you go through all 12 arrow cards, whoever has the most arrow cards wins the game. So you're just playing a series of rounds. The cards from each round that were used are then scrapped, and then you move on to a next color, or another color. The next card could be the same color, and so on and so forth. So that is Illusion. It's just a little tiny card game, and it's been a ton of fun. It's been out for a couple years, but again, don't really want to be colorblind for that one. All right, the last game that I'm going to show you before quickly going through a few fun workbooks that we have is Point Salad. Now, Point Salad is a game that has probably the least amount of, well, I mean, you're going to be wanting to add points as you play the game, but all of the math comes during the scoring. And I usually pull out my phone, or you can get a pencil and paper, and go through all the different ways to score points, because it's going to be many points. I don't know if the term point salad in board gaming is usually when there are so many points to be found in a game that it's just one big plate of points. And so this is kind of a pun on that, using the wordplay there. But so you'd set up the board. You have this huge stack of cards. They're not going to use all of them depending on the number of players, but every card has a front and a back. And on the back is a different way to score points. Now, all of them are different, so there's so many different ways of scoring. There we go. As you can sort of see on here, the tomatoes, every tomato you have will score you 3 points, but every carrot and every onion you have will be negative points at the end of the game. So this may not be the best point card, but maybe just a lot of tomatoes and no carrots and onions. So, there's going to be 3 of these, the piles of cards up at the top of the table, face up like this, and then below that there's going to be just 2 rows of cards that are single layered vegetables. And on your turn, you're either going to take 2 vegetables, or you're going to take 1 of the point cards. When you take the vegetables, they go face in front of you as vegetables. When you take the point card, it's going to go face up in front of you as a point card. Then it goes on to the next player. You continue through till you've gone through all 3 of these decks, kind of replenishing the piles, flipping them up. So if I took that carrot and then this was the card above it, it would fill in that empty space below. Once you've gone through all the cards, the round ends, and then you can add all your points. So all the point cards you took, plus all the vegetables, and using the various ways to score. Now, each point card can score every vegetable on its own. So if I have 3 cards that score tomatoes, and I have 3 tomatoes, those tomatoes will count towards each of those scoring cards, which is why you're going to want a phone or a pen and pencil, because you want to go through all of your scoring cards. And because of the way things work, some of them are going to be like additions. So if you have a set of a carrot, a cabbage, and an onion, you're going to get 8 points. Well, if you have 3 sets, so 3 carrots, 3 cabbages, and 3 onions, it's going to be 3 times 8. And so you can have them work through those principles, or you get some refreshers on your arithmetic and your multiplication to score 3 times 8 to get the points from that card. But then maybe you also have this one. So those carrots that were also used for this, you're going to score 2 for each of those carrots and 2 for each of those onions. So we had said there was 3, so it'd be 2 times 3 and 2 times 3 again, and 2 times 3 plus 2 times 3 to get the full points on this card. But maybe you also have some peppers, and you have 4 peppers, so it'd be 4 times 4, negative 4, so negative points. So you're going to lose 16 points from this card alone. So maybe that would not have been a good card for you. That said, during the game, once per turn, if you ever see a point card and you're like, oh crap, I'm getting a ton of peppers, I really don't want this one. Once per turn, you can choose to flip a point card over to its vegetable card. However, once you have flipped it over to its vegetable card, it's never going to go back into being the point card. It's going to stay as a vegetable. And that is point salad. So every time you play, you'll just be doing a ton of little simple arithmetic and multiplication and all sorts of stuff. But mostly at the end of the game. The gameplay itself is just kind of taking those cards and putting them in front of you and kind of keeping that running total going in your head as well for point salad. So those are my 5 games. I also pulled a selection of books. I won't go through all these books in slow fashion, but there is one series here, and this is one from Flash Kids that I haven't heard of, but they have math adventures, and they are absolutely gorgeous. So most of the workbooks I had as a kid were like, here, do this series of addition problems, but we drew a penguin on the corner of the page, so isn't it cute? It's penguins. And yes, I still found them awesome and fun and enjoyed worksheets, but these are that much more. So it's going to have different kind of both word problems, math problems. There's going to be games, like this one is about money, and you actually can go in the back of the book and it gives you like stickers and coins and cardboard to cut out, so you can have your own store that gets set up, as well as sort of visualizing principles of multiplication or addition. Some very, there are stickers in the back of the book that can be used on some of these pages, so it's grades 2, 3, and 4. 2, 3, 4, and 5 is what we've got in store. And like fairy tale lands. Look at this. Where I put a bookmark here. So this one's like actual game, and there's gives you cardboard die in the back that you can pull out. So if you don't happen to have 12-sided die sitting around your home, you can make them out of the book, and then there's a whole game that you can play on this grid paper. And then if you have grid notebooks, you can keep playing that game forever. So the Math Adventure Spy School is the oldest one, and it gets quite a bit trickier, some logic problems, and this one, for some reason, fractions of this picture, I thought I was going to be so clever, and then I got one wrong, so clearly I need to use the workbook. But yeah, they have like a different theme for each grade, and they get increasingly more challenging, and by the time I was flipping through the 4th and 5th grade one, I was like, I really should do some of these problems. We also have the, I don't know if you know, remember Brain Quest, those little flash decks. They also make workbooks, and they have a series of math and reading books that are for kids that are all set in the Star Wars universe. They're a little more like what I was talking about, where you're doing the problems, and it has just a little picture on the side that sort of makes it Star Wars, but it does make it a little more fun to kind of have those problems set maybe in the world of characters that they care about. It's ages like preschool through 3rd grade, so a little bit younger, and we have that. And then Usborne, which I'm sure you're all familiar with Usborne books. They've come out with kind of a little more educational books, a lot like those other ones, but of course from the people at Usborne. So the kind of the drawings and the puzzles and the things that you may have come to know and love from them. So a little bit older. They don't give an age on this. Let's say probably third grade and up, but I'm not a teacher, so I don't know. But some of the problems I had a little fun going through and trying to do some of those puzzles. They definitely make it more puzzly. And then this series of books, actually from Kane Miller, which is under the same publisher here in the States as Usborne, but they're very different. This is not a math book, and this is not another math book. These are a little bit more advanced principles, kind of. We get into things like talking about what is a tessellation, and so not so much the workbook, like adding and subtracting, but like principles in math. Here's a word that I did not. I always call these tangrams, but I guess stomachon is a tangram. But like you can cut out the shapes. Again, they give them to you in the back of the book, and then you can try to fit those shapes, like geometric principles and such like that. I also really liked. They give you like extra grid paper and things in the back to do some of their activities, as well as a glossary of terms, which that was kind of a handy one. But it's a little bit, I would say, older kids. Again, I'm not a teacher or parent, so I don't really know. But and even adults, such as myself, that need to refresh math principles, could do well working their way through those. So that is what I have to show for you today. It's 5 games and a bunch of books I can add. But they're all going to be 10% off this week. So starting today, this afternoon, all the way through next Thursday, we'll have them up on our website. This video will be on our YouTube channel if you want to go through how to play fully. There's definitely going to be some videos from people online for some of these games, going a little bit further in depth on the rules of the games, but most of them are fairly straightforward, simple. We have them in stock. You can put things on hold. Again, curbside pickup, still doing that, so you don't have to come in, but you are welcome to come in with a mask, and also order delivery on our website. And again, I miss seeing y'all. I hope you're doing all right, and one day we'll meet again at Blue Highway.